Chiefs kicking off NFL divisional weekend on ABC and ESPN. Patrick Mahomes is a perfect 6-0 in the divisional round, which means the Chiefs are seeking their 7th straight conference championship. Since 1970, the only longer streak is the Tom Brady-led Patriots at 8. But the Texans have never reached a conference championship. 0-5 in this round. That makes them the only franchise that's never made a conference championship since that round was created in 1970. Now, these two teams met in Week 16. Chiefs won by 8. Mahomes came into that game with a sprained ankle, but took it 15 yards to the crib in the first quarter and threw a touchdown later in that game as well. And it's great to have our senior NFL reporter, Jeremy Fowler, with us, as well as NFL analyst Mina Kimes. And we're going to start with Mina because we just went through what happened in Week 16. So what's something you would like to see Houston's offense improve upon here for the rematch?
It's something that I think C.J. Stroud is going to have to be prepared for because it's something he struggled with all year long, is the zone blitz. Against man blitzes, meaning when defenses sent extra rushers but played man coverage behind it, Stroud was actually 11th in EPA per dropback this year, not terrible. But against zone blitzes, he was 34th, and that is something you expect to see Steve Spagnuolo dial up, something he has done with great success throughout his entire career, particularly when those Chiefs play split safety coverage on the back end, often disguising what they're doing in coverage while sending extra rushers. Stroud has struggled with that this year. He's going to have to be better against it in this game for them to pull out the upset.
Spagnuolo had C.J. Stroud in this Texans offense in a torture chamber back in Week 16. As for the Chiefs, Jeremy, we haven't seen these starters. We haven't seen Patrick Mahomes in more than 3 weeks. What can you tell us about how they've been handling and preparing in this bye week?
Yeah, Randy, Andy Reid has had time to cook up some offensive plays with his staff. They've been up in the lab, and I was told they've been looking at evergreen plays because last week they didn't know who they were going to play, whether it was going to be Houston or somebody else. So they took some plays during the season that they really liked, that they believe work against any team, and they added to it, enhanced it, fleshed it out, mixed it up a little bit. So they should be good to go there. And then another little wrinkle for the Chiefs. I am told from sources that Joe Thuney, a longtime guard, Pro Bowl guard, will be starting at left tackle. He played the last few games of the year at left tackle because of injury. Now DJ Humphries is healthy, but they're going to keep Thuney as the expectation at left tackle because he's been playing so well there.
Wow.
Did well against Houston a couple weeks ago. He'll get a rematch.
Yeah. That's really interesting because we just saw this Texans defensive front against the Chargers place a lot of emphasis on getting interior pressure, Jeremy, which is something the Chargers' interior offensive line is where they're weakest. And you saw DeMeco Ryans using overloads, some stunts, as well as just their interior defensive pass rushers, Nico Autry, Mario Edwards, feasting, frankly, on the Chargers' offensive line. So I'll be curious to see if they take a similar approach in this game, especially if Joe Thuney gets chip help, as he often did the last time these teams played.
It'll be a game within the game. You got to factor in second half adjustments, and we'll see. We're going to see more from Jeremy, more from Mina. Guys, sit tight. More with you in a moment.
Randy wanted to point out there is no red dye number 3 in any of these graphics that you see.
I didn't say that at all.
This is clean eating.
Strysky and Scott. Well, could be our last show. Chiefs quest for a three-peat kicks off tomorrow against the Texans. On paper, it looks all KC. Patrick Mahomes never lost in the divisional round. Undefeated. Never lost. He's owned the Texans in his career. Even the weather is on the Chiefs' side. It's going to be in the mid-20s where Mahomes thrives. And Houston most definitely does not. And we already saw this matchup play out in Week 16. Wasn't that long ago. C.J. Stroud took the struggle bus to the stadium against the Chiefs' zone coverage specifically. Both of his touchdowns coming against man. You can see the completion percentage falling off against zone, as well as yards per attempt plummeting against the Kansas City zone coverage. We have reporter Adam Teicher with the Chiefs joining us on SportsCenter. Adam, it's been 23 days since we've seen Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City's best players in action. How do they utilize their time off, this extra time off with this bye week?
Yeah, the Chiefs, Randy, talked a lot this week about this extended break that they were afforded by getting the AFC's #1 seed early. They did a couple things that they rarely, if ever, do this time of season particularly. They used the break to practice in pads, and they also had starters go against starters, offense versus defense. They rarely do those things this time of season, but they felt like that's what they needed to do to stay sharp with this long break. Again, as you say, it's been 23 days or will be 23 days between games for a lot of their key players. I talked to Chris Jones this week, defensive tackle. He had a calf injury going into this break. He said he feels as good as he's ever felt for this time of year for getting this kind of break. And I also talked to offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. You remember the Chiefs had a similar break last season. He said he doesn't think the Chiefs had a player who benefited more from that break last year than Travis Kelce. Kelce finished slowly during the regular season last year, but he had a big playoffs for the Chiefs, and they're hoping, obviously, that he can do that again this year. One more note on the Chiefs. They are planning to activate starting cornerback Jalen Watson off the injured reserve list. Watson has not played for them since a Week 7 game against the San Francisco 49ers. He's had a broken ankle, but he should be good to go. We'll see how much he plays, but he will play, or they're expecting him to play, against the Texans.
Oh, good. A 16-1 football team is getting even better. That's Adam Teicher with the insight for us on SportsCenter. Thank you, Adam.
All of that was good news for the Chiefs, good news for the Chiefs, good news for the Chiefs. So how can you cash in? Don't ask me. Let's ask sports betting analyst Anita Marks now. Best bets. Texans, Chiefs. Anita, what you got?
Yeah, after listening to Adam, how can you not like Kansas City? And I'll lay the 8. Also, I like the Houston Texans under their point total at 16.5. A number of reasons. Kansas City, as we heard from Adam, they are rested. And this is a Kansas City team. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they are a different breed when it comes to the playoffs. Get this, they are 6-1, scoring an average of 30 points, if not more, against number 1 defenses in the NFL in their playoff history, which is uber impressive. On top of that, their defense has been great. As we heard, Chris Jones is ready to go. Their secondary gets better, but some negative in regard to the Texans. And offensively, they have been struggling since Week 9, 26th in the NFL. Of course, no Stephon Diggs, no Tank Dell. Now Joe Mixon's dealing with an ankle issue, and this offensive line has given up 52 sacks on the season. It is going to be some tough sledding for C.J. Stroud. That's for sure tomorrow afternoon.
And Anita, there's recent tape on literally this matchup, December 21st, 27-19. Houston coming in, riding a hot hand. They got to feel confident after dispatching those Chargers. But listen, the Chargers ain't the Chiefs. Anita's going to break down the other game. Randy, what you got?
Yeah, Gary,
that's the 4:30 kick on ESPN and ABC to the NFC nightcap. It's the Lions hosting the Commanders. Now, last week in the wild card, Jaden Daniels got his 6th comeback win after trailing in the 4th quarter this season. That is the most by any rookie starting quarterback since 1950. But these ain't the Bucs. He's facing a dominant Lions team that outscored opponents by 222 points this season, the highest in the league and the highest in team history. Detroit's 70 touchdowns, 5 more than the next best team. Expectations have not been this high in Detroit in a long time. It's their first time ever earning the 1 seed, and they're seeking their first title since winning the NFL championship in 1957 over the Browns. All right, we're back with J-Bone and with Mina. Mina, what are you going to be looking at specifically close with Jared Goff?
Yeah, I am interested in seeing whether or not the Washington Commanders play as much man coverage as they have throughout the course of the season. This defense has played man at the 5th highest rate in the NFL. Not particularly good at it, and in Jared Goff, they go up against a quarterback who's not just great at it. He was actually the best quarterback in the NFL statistically against man coverage this year. 0.4 EPA per dropback. That's twice as much as what he achieved versus zone coverage, which, by the way, they're so good against zone coverage, don't get me wrong. I just fear that if the Commanders play as much man as they have throughout the course of the season, they will get diced up by this quarterback, this scheme, and these tough skill players.
So many weapons from the tackle box out with all of his pass catchers. And Jeremy, he's going to get another one potentially in the backfield. David Montgomery back this week after missing the final 3 games of the regular season. What is the game plan for David Montgomery?
Yeah, Gary, most people I talk to believe that Jahmyr Gibbs will remain RB1. He's been on an absolute heater the last 3 games with 365 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. I know Washington is loosely expecting that, but they do believe that Montgomery will have a solidified role. It just might be more of a secondary role because he's easing his way back from that knee issue, where in the past it might have been 50-50 splits at times. So, but it will also depend on the feel of the game, how Montgomery's feeling. If he comes out hot, they could continue to ride that hot hand.
All right, that's Saturday. That's the night kick. 2 games we're ready for it. It's going to set up championship weekend. That is Jeremy Fowler, Mina Kimes with the latest on sports.
We're in the NFC now. Lions hosting the Commanders, and certainly the case for Detroit is a strong one. The Lions won 15 games behind the best offense in football, and they get David Montgomery back from a knee injury. But Jaden Daniels and these cardiac Commanders have been shocking people all season. Case in point, wild card win over the Bucs when they doinked home the winning field goal as time expired. Our Lions reporter Eric Woodyard is with us now on SportsCenter. Eric, we talk about this Kansas City layoff here and how long it's been for them since they last played a meaningful football game. How specifically did Detroit benefit from their first round bye and a week's worth of rest?
It was a little different in Detroit. They got some rest. I spoke to a number of different guys, including wide receiver Jamison Williams, and he said, hey, they got some rest. They did hold a situational day this past week, but other than that, guys just rested and, rested up. They needed that. He said they did return to practice this week, and they've looked pretty good. He doesn't see any issues and doesn't see being a problem with, guys getting that rest. And Amon-Ra St. Brown said the same thing. The rest gave them an opportunity for guys to heal. I mean, you saw David Montgomery. He's going to be back as well after missing those last 3 games with the MCL injury. He's just ready to get back going. He's feeling refreshed. He's feeling rejuvenated. In his absence, though, you saw Detroit's other running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, go off, in that regular season finale, career-high 4 touchdowns. So he's welcoming his teammate, David Montgomery, back. He doesn't see any issues. He's missed him, he told me specifically, and he's just ready to get going. I mean, this Lions team, they feel like they're better than last year. They still got that bitter taste of falling short in the NFC North Championship, and guys are just locked in and they're ready to go. They put all that energy into being better and being great this week, and guys are locked in, ready to go.
Tampa was certainly able to find some success on the ground against Washington. We'll see if Detroit can do the same. That's Eric Woodyard with the insight for us. And Detroit's level of success and how that's defined there in the Motor City, I mean, it is different. They have a two-headed monster there, the 6th most rush yards this season, and that's with David Montgomery missing 3 games with the knee injury. They also had 29 rushing touchdowns. That trails only the Bills. Meanwhile, the Commanders' defense not stout against the ground game, allowing the 3rd most rush yards per game in the NFL. Washington, however, not concerned on offense with their rookie QB. John Keim has more.
Washington Commanders rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels responded to his late-game heroics that helped beat Tampa on Sunday by doing what he's always done this season. 3 days a week, he showed up to the facility around 5:30 a.m. and about a half hour later was going through a walkthrough with quarterbacks coach Tavita Pritchard and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Daniels called Saturday's game against the Lions just another game. It's that cool demeanor and work ethic that veteran tight end Zach Ertz first noticed in the spring. He said it reminded him of his former Stanford teammate, Andrew Luck. I asked Ertz, well, did you share that with anybody? He said yes, anybody who would listen.
Okay. It might be just another game, but also at the same time, it ain't just another game playing in front of the crazies there at Ford Field and that very well-rested Detroit Lions team. Anita Marks back here with the best bets for this matchup specifically. Anita, what you got?
How is Washington getting 9.5 points? It really, listen, I always say odds makers are the smartest people in the room. They must know something, but where's the respect? Because Jaden Daniels, I know we call him a rookie. I don't know. I want to see his birth certificate. He just does not look like a rookie all season long. Of course, he's going to win more than likely Offensive Rookie of the Year, but nonetheless, this young man has a knack, right? There's no quit in that tiger, and a phrase we like to use is that backdoor cover. So I love Washington getting the 9.5. Maybe you want to buy it up to 10. Not going to be mad at you. Meanwhile, that defense for the Detroit Lions, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, he's going to have his hands full. Why? This is a Lions team that has not gone up against very many mobile quarterbacks. They're 30th in passing yards allowed, and what we know about Jaden Daniels, boy, he extends those plays. Him and Terry McLaurin, they've got great chemistry. So this is going to be a matchup issue for Detroit Lions team that's had a lot of injuries to their defense and not a lot of depth. So will they be able to withstand all 4 quarters against Jaden Daniels? Yeah. I'm not too sure.
Anita, I loved how you pointed out the 9.5. It feels like a trap. Feels too good to be true. Hammer it. Anita Marks trying to line your pockets ahead of the games on Saturday.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Video ngày hôm nay của mình sẽ làm là video tô màu. Đây là những sản phẩm của mình.